Hey guys, back again. Another PUBG replay review. This time we're on Miramar, live build, squads with my usual squad partners, and on Miramar, which is our preferred map, actually. I know, it may shock some. We're a three-man squad, and San Martin is kind of our usual drop location. Far but makeable, as we would call it, on this plane path. And yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Our usual thing. And you can see we get San Martin to ourselves. Fortuitous beginning. Broke the replay. The first 10 minutes are pretty boring. You can see that we do get circle love here. That we're in A. B, we're far enough in, very likely that we'll be in the next shrink as well. So we know we have plenty of time to just garner as much loot as we can. The thing to consider in these situations, you've got an entire city to yourself, you're in circle, you're in far enough that you'll probably be in the next circle as well. You need to have a little bit of a spidey sense or a little bit of an internal clock to think about when are people going to show up. The whole southern half, literally the southern half of the map, has to move. And this is, you've got San Martin and Pozo as basically the two biggest cities in the southern part of the circle. San Martin has kind of the most roads. It's much more central than Pozo. So it is someplace that people are likely. It's far enough off plane path too that early in the circle, you may have people that may just find a vehicle, wait for the circle to pop, find a vehicle, and drive into town. So you need to have a little bit of that internal clock to not let your guard down. It's very easy to just run around and loot and get spread out and kind of lose and kind of forget that there are a bunch of other people that are trying to murder you in this game. So that's something that I think probably all happens to everybody. It's just easy to relax, and we've got the whole place to ourselves. What could possibly go wrong? That's usually my job in the squad to is the one to herd the cats and make sure that everybody's still paying attention and doesn't wander off too far. We grab a vehicle and continue to loot. We push west just because it was away from flight path. I mean, San Martin was pretty far to make. We know that most of these concretes, which is what we call these buildings, concretes. We know that most of these buildings probably haven't been looted, and they're just so loot dense on Miramar as a whole. You almost always get a couple useful things. So we're pretty stacked here. Like I said, we had San Martin all to ourselves. We've got these concretes. We've got a vehicle. We're going to continue to loot, hoping to upgrade wherever we might need to. But again, another boring beginning. Another boring beginning. But that's not necessarily bad. It was interesting. I think it was WTF Moses had a poll on Twitter about whether PUBG is a shooter or a survival game. Um, I voted for and believe that it is a survival game. Yes, you do shoot, obviously, um, but the goal isn't to kill everyone else. That's unrealistic. Nobody's ever going to get, if you're in squads, no squad is going to get 75 kills. Crazy good games and squads have 20 25 kills, right? Crazy good games, 20 25 kills. um I have no idea what the record is. Honestly, don't really care. But the point is, you're not going to kill everybody else on the server. You have to survive longer than everybody else on the server. The person that's left alive, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, but the person that's left alive at the end is the one that wins, not necessarily the person that kills the most other people. And I believe, games like this and Fortnite and any of the battle royale games, H1Z1, DayZ, are more about survival than killing. And there's a couple different ways you can go about that. We don't need to pause while I'm pontificating about this. You can survive by not engaging, or you can survive by engaging everyone. And I think that the latter isn't really long-term viability. My opinion. But anyway, we're going to just continue to loot. We're still in zone. We've got our convertible. It's a Sunday day outside. We're getting looted up. And still don't think we've actually seen anybody. I think we've seen one person thus far. Continuing to loot the concretes. The concretes are not the best buildings to hold. Like these apartment buildings are probably the best buildings to hold on Miramar. I think the most secure. The stairwells are easy to hold. There's only one. Plenty of windows, good visibility in all directions, multiple options for egress. I think they're the easiest to hold. Concretes aren't bad. They can be crowded for 4 people. Duos is probably a little better. You start to run out of space a little bit with 4 people as far as trying to play in it. You can play outside it as well. You can play the open as well, and give yourself some cover there. We were discussing where we wanted to rotate, or if we wanted to rotate here. Honestly, not too much point with the circle almost being closed. Just wait for the circle to close and don't move yourselves away from the center of the circle. Especially in this phase 3 jump, which is such a huge portion. Like the circle size the percentage is so great that it can move a long ways. If we had done an early rotation, we had talked about coming up to like this complex up here, and taking some high ground, or also going to these concretes at the crossroads. But if we do that and then the circle jumps, we've given ourselves a tougher rotation. So we generally, when it gets close to shrink time, tend to hold position unless we're on the very edge of circle. Perhaps sometimes then we'll rotate just to not have the blue at our backs. We do like obviously to go to the crossroads here, which is about a center circle as you're going to get. Again, it's been a pretty boring game thus far. I'm not necessarily opposed to that either. And we get a loot crate dropped in our laps. Oh, yeah, there were some guys on a motorcycle. Yeah. So we had a crate drop. Obviously, you can see that. Penny's looting right now, and these guys rolled up in a three-wheeler and met their end, which wasn't a really good. I mean, they just. We can rewind and look at that. I understand going for crates. That's not something typically that we go out of our way to do. We don't typically go crate chasing. If they're nearby, obviously we love to upgrade our gear whenever we can. But I mean, look how long this crate has been here. It's by the time these guys get here, the crate has been here, and they're gonna just come rolling up. Is it these guys? Yeah. So it's these guys, and they are driving a long way to try and get this crate. And they're coming in a three-wheeler, and look at this approach path. They're just going to drive down the main road. 29 people left alive. Center circle. And they're just going to drive down the main road with buildings on either side in a three-wheeler. And they're going to get annihilated. If you're going to make that play and try to and really want to get the crate, I mean, and get center circle too. So it's like, it's a win-win, right? If you can get in and get the crate and get a compound center circle. But I think that their approach was optimistic at best. Just hoping to drive in on a three-wheeler, especially 2 people left alive. A 2-person squad, in squads. There was a bunch of different avenues that they could have taken. We saw them basically come down this way. Oh, we're going to the center of the earth. Come down this way, right? And, instead of driving down the main road, maybe you go up into the hills. There's plenty of terrain cover. Plenty of terrain cover up here to the south of these concretes. And it's a very short run. Very short run to push down this hill back behind. Come up here, check this out, see if, put eyes on the crate, put eyes on this concrete, see if anyone's playing here, see if anyone's playing across the street. Just a little, 30 seconds of due diligence. And, may those guys catch Penny looting the crate. Knock him, now it's a 2v2. Maybe they go in and take that compound, take all our stuff. Instead of just rolling up in a three-wheeler. So I think poor decision, obviously, at that point for those guys. Just not necessarily poor decision to make the moves that they did. They just did not go about it very well. Same can be said for these guys. Squad 20, we saw them as I was talking push down actually that hill that I was talking about, except they're all pushing down here, which is the most barren part of this entire area. There's no cover. you can see that they're getting knocked like crazy. And, you know, I can knock somebody who tries to go prone behind a palm tree. Again, you know, a couple of choices. Let's back up a little bit. Let's back up a little bit and see if they know that we're here. They're getting pushed by the blue. Getting pushed by the blue. I get it. So now they're doing a little bit of due diligence. Let's hang on. This is the wrong squad. Wrong squad. So he has to see us there, right? Like, he has to see us running. Yeah, I mean, he's going to take cover. Yeah, definitely 100% sees us there. So that they know now that this north concrete is occupied. They've got 1 minute and 19 seconds, basically, to get to that concrete, which is the very edge of zone, at least. They're going to elect to push right here, that terrain that we just talked about, pushing straight down this hill and try and take it. Other options, I don't know if they know that they have this squad behind them. Option one, I guess, would be to push further away, cross here where the terrain is, the open space is the narrowest. There's not a ton of cover here to cross the road either, but it's further away from us, and just in general, the further away you are from people, the harder it is for them to kill you. But B, the time that you're basically completely exposed is a little less as well. There's a couple of trees here, but there's all kinds of little bumps and dips, deflates, as they say. Instead, the squad's just going to elect, option B. We talked about option A. Option B, continue to push along this ridge to the west-northwest and push from this concrete. Push along here to this concrete and then try and push across at that point. Or even, they saw us go in here. I don't know if they saw a line I push into the shanties, but we weren't looking at them at the time. I don't think that they could say with certainty that, we didn't stop and look back that way when we crossed the street. So from their perspective, I don't think that they have any reason to believe that we know that they're there. Push along this ridge, push down to this concrete, even push all the way along the edge and take these shanties, which are in. And now you've got a very protected route to do this rotation instead of, what they ended up doing, which was just literally running across the worst part of this terrain. They're going to get picked apart. One guy left alive now. One's going to get finished off. 2 down. We're just pinging away at the smoke. We've seen them smoke, so we're just spamming into the smoke. Well, they're getting pushed from behind. Oh no, Penny did get that. They're not shooting at them. So now they're down to 1 person left alive. He's in a terrible, terrible location trying to play a skinny palm tree. Trying to play a skinny palm tree with the blue at his back. So again, as a whole, just not a very wise rotation. Illini over here is going to hear. So squad 14 did exactly what we just talked about. They made that rotation. If we back up, while we were fighting, you can see them make that rotation we just talked about. And they got into a much more favorable engagement. Made it incomplete. Made it in cover. Illini almost gets caught out here as we're sniping away at the squad that was still in the blue. But we do win that fight. When zone jumps far north, our goal here... so... we finally get to loot somebody too. We killed a few people and hadn't actually been able to loot anybody. Finally got some loot off of those guys. We're pretty happy with what we got. I think at this point I have a SCAR and an SLR with a 6x, which is my preferred loadout. So we got tons of meds. Penny's got level 3 gear. I think he got an AWM out of the crate, if I remember correctly. So we're pretty happy with where we're at loot-wise. So the goal is just to grab the Murado and dive into the southern part of the circle, which, again, this is a bit of hope. We don't want to commit. So I hate circles that end on a mountain. We don't want to commit to either the east or the west, regardless of the southern part of the circle is the closest part of the circle to us. We don't want to commit too much to east or west, because if the circle jumps to either side, we don't want to get trapped. So with how the circle is going to close, we're not sure how steep this terrain is right here. We're not sure how crossable it is going to be east and west. We're going to see that it's not going to be a real issue, but we don't want to overcommit until we know which side of this hill it's going to close on. So we just grab the convertible, dive in, and take control of the southern part of the zone. And you can see there's already established squads up here. I don't know what Garlic Jr.'s doing way down there. He does not have a lot of time left, and he's got a lot of ground to cover. Obviously, nobody's here waiting for us. Ends up being a pretty easy rotation. It was a good decision. Is one thing I'll say about decision making, and this game very much comes down to decision making, is outcomes do not tell the whole story. Just because the decision you make worked out well or worked out poorly doesn't mean it was the wrong decision. Sometimes this worked out great for us. Nobody was here. We're well in zone. We've got good cover here. It's extremely playable. That doesn't mean that it was the right decision. I still believe it was the right decision, but just because it turned out that way doesn't necessarily make it so. So try and think about that when you're analyzing your own gameplay, if you do that, or while you're watching Pro League or PGI or GLL or any of the other pro events, and you see the decisions that the pros make, the outcome doesn't necessarily prove that it was a good decision or a bad decision. And poor Garlic Jr. is going to get very much caught out here. Very late rotation does not pay dividends. He just barely gets... We knew that he had to be healing back there. This is why I don't snipe. We knew he had to be healing back there. I didn't know it was quite that close. So now we've seen the circle has jumped yet again. We see 8 alive, and we're 3 of them, so we're feeling pretty good about our chances here. We know we just have to play smart. But whenever the circle pops, especially the last, phase 5, 6, 7, whenever the circle pops, we try and always remind each other, we'll say it in comms, where we're going to play, even if we're in the middle of a gunfight. Somebody, if somebody needs to back off to heal or something, while they're getting the first aid or the med kit off, can they get a quick look at the map and just where are we going to play? Because you don't want to be stuck out like good old Garlic Jr. there, trying to make an extremely late rotation to zone. And the blue really hurts at this point, so it's not something that wants to be avoided. So we look at this, and again, it's still split kind of on the mountain. We decided we want to go east. That's the more sort of playable area. We're not sure what this terrain looks like over here. And honestly, now this is the first time I've looked at it, and we did make the right decision. Again, just because we made the right decision doesn't mean it was the right decision, but it didn't look like any of this was going to be very much playable, and that if we were going to try and play the western part of the circle, that we would have to basically go all the way around to here. Like that we wouldn't be able to play really the southern part, because then if it jumped again, we didn't know kind of what this area looked like, if it was going to be traversable. And you don't want to get stuck. You don't want to get stuck on a mountainside, unable to get in the zone. I mean, there's 7 people alive at this point. Again, we're 3 of them. There's 4 bodies up that we need to outlast here. And I don't want to die to the blue when, in theory, we have at least equal numbers, if not superior numbers, to everybody else, every other team that's left here. So we rotate east. This terrain looks good here. We're not too worried at this point. The big concern, obviously, with playing where we are right now is people down here, because you're, playing on the mountainside, you're completely exposed to, or any downslope of any hill, honestly, you're completely exposed to those below. But obviously, we're not too worried. This area is so barren. We've been watching it since we got into this circle, got into this area. Haven't seen any movement, and pretty sure that we're safe from that side of the zone. We heard the fighting north of us as well, so we know that there are people there. Illini had spotted out old Biscuit Butterer over here. There are remnants of Squad 10, and so we knew that we did have somebody behind us, and he's reminding us of that right now, which is why he's going back there to keep an eye on it. So we know we've got people on both sides of us, but we're in zone here. We know that the person that is going to be coming behind us is not going to be in zone, so we're going to gatekeep him here at the back half of the circle and push him with his own. Just make sure that no one's going to get behind us. Which is, if you watched my snow map video, we talk about that, how another squad should have done that to me, the opposite, should have done this to me in that game, what we're doing to this guy here. Zone jumps again to the north, not great. And well, and you can see too that Biscuit did actually not come this way, but again, we made the right decision, because if he would have had to push through us to get in his zone. So, and we're not really looking for kills here. Again, you know, I spoke about this earlier. You know, I'm not disappointed that we didn't catch Biscuit doing that rotation and kill him. I mean, if we did, that's fine too. But every engagement has a potential. You know, you have the potential to get a kill. You also have the potential to die. And we're in such a good position here that we don't want to give up whatever advantages that we have. So if we gatekeep there instead of, you know, aggressively pushing around to try and take him out or something, then, you know, perhaps I think that's the wrong decision. Even if it works, I think that's the wrong decision, just because the risk versus reward isn't there. Penny spots out this other squad. That's the world's worst grenade throw. It's very tight here. Biscuit's gonna get picked off by the other squad. Now we know that there's just 2 alive. We know, I think at this point, that they're both here. I think Penny had spotted out both of the others. So again, we're in zone here. We've taken control of. We've pushed them back enough that we're in zone. We decided to and wanted to push early to get into zone and not let them gatekeep us. So we had to take whatever engagements we needed to make sure that we could not get stuck in the blue, because you definitely don't want to be in the blue in phase 7. You'll die extremely quickly. At this point, there's not really too much else that is noteworthy here. There's not really any rotations left. Really want to get on top of that hill. We know that they're up there. Cook that a little too long. They're actually in a pretty good position here. Oh, that was actually a pretty decent shot, if I remember. My nade throwing wasn't very good. Austin's gonna push up. Takes him down to about 60. Quick scope that guy. Now we know that there's one up. I'm calling for the push right here. As soon as we get that knock, we know that there's only one up. We push as a group. It's a 3v1. It would be pretty difficult for him to shoot all of us at the same time. So, successful. Obviously, we got the chicken dinner, which is what we're all after. But I think a lot of good decisions were made there. I liked a lot of our rotations. We made good decisions in our engagements as well, not overexposing, not being too aggressive, but also not being too passive, pushing when we needed to push, but not pushing when we did not need to push. So enjoyable game. Hope you guys liked it, and thanks again for tuning in.